All right. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to get started because we have a limited time here at the community center, and we probably want to leave some room for comments and questions, but we have a very exciting presentation for you all. It's been a while. It's been probably about 2 years since we've come back through the virtual presentation. Took a lot of the input from the public on the Zoom meetings, and from emails from everybody who was interested in this project. What we've been doing since that time with our consultants, our design team, was to assimilate all those comments to give you an update of where we're at with this botanical gardens. As you last remember, it was this beautiful botanical gardens with the lake in the middle and all these event pavilions. The McNab House and the garage is very exciting, but I think what you're going to see today is how it evolved. All those components are still there, but all organized in a way where it really made sense in operations, but also it's more immersive, more friendly, more educational. Look, I'm super excited. I really am. And I don't get excited. Those that know me, I'm pretty dull. But this is one of those very transformative projects that is going to bring a huge economic impact and really put Pompano as a world-class destination, right? So before I begin and turn it over to our expert design team, I'd like to recognize some very key individuals here. Starting with commissioners, we have Commissioner Rhonda Sigerson-Eaton here, I saw. Commissioner Darlene Smith, Vice Mayor Allison Fournier. If I've forgotten anybody, please raise your hand. But I think I got all the commissioners. I also want to recognize a very important advisory committee for the East CRA Advisory Committee. They were very, very important to get the beach development going, and you see the success of what happened to the beach from the inception to what it is now. So with the East Advisory Committee, I want to recognize Mr. Jack Rogerson. Jack is here. Judith Niswonger is here. Melissa Hess is here. Paul Fisher is here. Raphael Katz, and I saw Dave Mingus. Am I missing anybody from the East? No. The East is very important as all these projects go for the East. We get a very detailed, either support or criticism of what needs to happen. They are really representative of this community, and their voice is very important to us as they make recommendations to our CRA board. Also, former commissioners, I saw Andrea McGee and Tom McMahon. And Kay. Kay McGinn. And also recognized lastly is our assistant city managers here. Suzette Sybil, Earl Bosworth, and Mr. Greg Harrison, our city manager, and also our CRA executive director. So let's not hold this up anymore. I'm going to turn this over to our project manager, Sarah Mulder.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out tonight on this very cold day. So before I start, Sarah Mulder, CRA project manager. Before I start, there has been some recent misinformation that has been spread regarding this project, and I do want to take the opportunity here today to clear a few of them. The first is that $6.1 million has been expended on this project. That is inaccurate. To date, $2.1 million has been spent on this project, and that includes house renovations and pre-development costs, such as the house and garage move, which includes MOT plans, FPL fees, site fencing, and associated permitting and engineering fees, a minor site plan, the front porch and porte cochere repair, design, engineering fees, and construction, the waterproofing of the basement, which was a massive undertaking, and then the new roof replacement. And then the second issue that I want to address involves the title of the property. The city does, in fact, hold a title policy for McNab Park. Now that that's over with and why we're here today, Nguyen touched on it a little bit. You've all have seen the previous conceptual master plan, and I just want to kind of clarify the difference between a conceptual master plan and a master plan. So the difference really lies in their level of detail and purpose. A conceptual plan is very high level, big picture idea of what a project may look like. That's what you all have seen to date about 2 years ago. A master plan is more detailed, comprehensive, serves as a blueprint for how a project will be executed. Both are essential part of the process, but they happen at different stages of planning and development. So we're excited that we're here today and into that master plan phase. So with that being said, I just want to start off with a little bit about who we are here as a CRA. A community redevelopment agency is a special government organization set to improve specific areas that are struggling or run down. Its goal is to make these areas a better place to live and work by tackling issues like bad infrastructure and vacant buildings. Our job really as a CRA is to bring the best economic development and redevelopment projects to the city. Our role goes beyond just upgrading old infrastructure and park amenities. We are the catalyst for real change. By focusing on transformative projects such as this, we're creating opportunities that attract businesses, enhance property values, and improve the quality of life for residents and visitors. We focus on shaping the future of the community and driving economic growth in a way that creates lasting impact. It's about revitalization with a vision, not just maintenance. So with that, I just want to touch on a little bit about tax increment financing, which is how we fund our projects. And I'm going to keep this very high level. CRAs get their funding through a process called tax increment financing. This means as property values in the area go up because of improvements that likely wouldn't have happened without the CRA, the extra tax revenue is used to fund more redevelopment projects. It's a way to fund improvements in a specific area without raising new taxes for the city at large. Here's how it works simply. Choose an area or a project to improve that falls within the district, freeze the current property taxes, use the extra money from growth, and then spend that increment back in the area. The idea is that reinvesting in the area, it becomes more attractive, bringing in more businesses and residents, just as the beach redevelopment has done, which further boosts property values and taxes and creates a positive cycle of growth and improvement. And this is just to show you that we do have a proven track record of success in the East CRA. You can see several of our projects here, the Fishing Village, Harbor Village, the Atlantic Bridge, just to name a few. And TIF bond financing is how we're proposing to fund this project. And what I really want to highlight here is that the bond debt service will be paid by tax increment revenue from the properties located within the East CRA boundaries only. This is not citywide, and this does not raise overall city taxes. This is what we're proposing to fund this project. And then with that, I'm not going to go into much detail here, but I just want to show a master timeline from the inception of this project, which started back in 2019 when we had presentations on the house move. And then fast forward all the way to 2022 when Bermillo Ajamel and Partners, who are here today, presents their concept plan to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. And then fast forward, the conceptual master plan was finalized and improved in 2022. The Architectural Design Services, RFQ, was released in July of 2023. and the site plan contract was approved in May of 2024, which brings us to where we are today. And with that, I'm going to bring up Randy from Bermillo Ahimel and Partners. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I have been involved with this project since it started. If you were in the virtual meetings back during COVID, we were the ones who hosted those meetings, and they were very successful because we got a lot of really valuable input from the community. And I think a lot of people went in skeptical, what is a botanical garden, our park is going, and I think most people came out of the virtual meetings with a really positive attitude towards a great new amenity that the city was going to build close to their neighborhood and inside the neighborhood itself. I'm the director of the Planning Landscape Architecture Program Department at Bermillo Ahimel. And as I said, have been working on this for 6 years, 5 years, I'm not sure from the beginning. I'm going to do is a very quick timeline of the development of the plan that we've gone through, starting with the moving of the house. Back in 2020, we took the house from its old historic site where the McNab brothers had one of the houses and brought it to the site and placed it on the north east corner, which I'm sure all of you have seen by now, and it will be a major feature in the project. It's a great amenity for this project to have a building, such a beautiful building on the property itself. The next step was we actually went to the public workshop was in 2020, December 2020 was a virtual workshop during COVID, and that's where we talked to the community about what this garden was going to be. We didn't have a plan. We talked about what the ideas were, what the concept was, got input from the community, what they wanted to see, and how we would develop the plan moving forward. Then in 2021, we had a conceptual master plan done, and that was the first plan that was done. We presented it to the community, and that's some of the components that Nguyen had mentioned were in the original master plan, which actually survived for a long time because we were working on different aspects of the project, and so the plan didn't evolve a lot through that period. And so there was a dramatic change more recently when we're going into the final master plan of the project. And then in 2022, we presented the conceptual plan to the Parks and Recreation Department. And then in 2022, June, we presented the conceptual plan to the CRA in which it was approved. And that's just the basic conceptual plan that we had at that time. And it sort of takes to where we are today. We've been working on this phase since May of 2024. We've taken the conceptual master plan, and now we have worked on a lot of detail about how it will work, what makes it special. We want this to be something that no one else has. Pompano Beach will have a botanical garden unlike any other botanical garden, and we're now at a stage where we're fairly convinced this will be incredibly successful because we've achieved it with the concept, working as a team to come up with an idea of how this garden development would occur and serve the neighborhood and people coming into Pompano Beach. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to, I don't see VVR. Here's your.
Thank you.
Dan.
Thank you. Dan Biederman, BRV Corp., based in New York. You may know of parks we've done in New York, Bryant Park. That's my life's work. We worked on it for 44 years now. Dallas, Clyde Warren Park, which is a deck park over a highway between uptown and downtown Dallas, those of you who know Dallas at all. And Salesforce Park in San Francisco, which is on top of a transit center. What you might notice is in two of those three cases, they're not in very successful states, New York and California. But by comparison, you may not know this, but the rest of the country is looking admiringly at South Florida, which we view as a very successful place, and we are convinced this will be a successful project. So we're going to start with a slide that shows some of the principles of the vision, obviously open to the public, self-sufficient financially to the greatest extent possible. We know there are a lot of other things that the city can do with its money other than this park, but it's been very generous in getting it off to a great start. Involving the local community in the project, making it a safe place. Busy parks and busy public spaces are safe public spaces. So we want it to be crowded with people as often as possible. Programming will do that, a lot more about that in a second. And then using all the site to educate. There's a tremendous interest in the community in education. Obviously, Florida's done very well in the education area compared to the rest of the country, and we'd like to use the park as a device to educate people. So this is a slide that Sarah's going to cover, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, so this here just highlights the impact on education this project can have. There are 36 schools total in Pompano Beach and over 300 public schools in Broward County. And you'll see on the map where McNab House and Botanical Gardens is. The creation of this project will provide endless educational opportunities for all ages. It'll offer hands-on learning experiences in botany, environmental science, and horticulture. And the gardens will serve as an outdoor classroom that fosters curiosity, creativity, and a deep appreciation for the natural world. So we're very excited about this and the impact it can have for our local schools and beyond.
Thank you, Sarah. So some examples of the programming, and the aim is small-scale events that don't overcrowd the neighborhood. Those of you concerned about parking or traffic, these are meant to be things that fill up the park but don't draw rock concert type crowds. There are little knots of activity in different areas of the park that make it extremely busy and alluring, but not overcrowding it and not damaging the resource. So you've got a botanical garden. There would be classes, as we've done in San Francisco, about the plants, and signs educating people, especially children, about horticulture. Art classes, these have proved in Bryant remarkably popular. They're all free. They would be free here, and people show up to learn to paint, and we would have people who are qualified to teach them. It's been remarkable, the success commercially of a lot of you have heard of these sip and paint sessions. This would be a version not in a bar, not in a restaurant, but out in the public way. Sculpture and art would be a key part of the park, and also be curated and interpreted for the public through very attractive signs and the like. Bird watching is my special thing. I'm a bird watcher. Are there any in the audience? Raise your hand. Only a couple, I think. Remarkable success. Bryant Park in New York is a 5-acre park surrounded by office buildings and busy streets. And when we started there, there were only 2 kinds of birds, pigeons and house sparrows, which are regarded by bird watchers as beneath contempt. They're not interesting. They're not native. They're from Asia and England, respectively. We now have seen 109 species of birds. Why? Because the horticulture of the park changed in a major way, and there are different levels of vegetation which attract birds, even to this site in New York that shouldn't be attracting birds. So the bird watching panels is a very interesting thing in San Francisco and in New York, where people will come and be educated in how to be a bird watcher. There are people who are advanced and there are people who are not, and we're on the list of places to go for bird watching. So it's a natural activity and educational one. Dance and music, we often say if you want to populate a park quickly, what are the 3 first things you should do? Music, food, and fitness classes. So those are enduringly, and maybe splash ponds, but that's expensive for little kids. So the music and dance sessions will be well patronized. We're pretty confident. And then history. The McNab brothers farms were around the water in this photo. There will be plenty of educational activity about the proud history of Pompano Beach. And so these are a summary. So you won't be able to read this in the back, but arts and crafts projects, holiday crafts, flower arranging, photography classes, watercolor classes. None of these things are terribly expensive. Sometimes even volunteers will be produced to teach them just because they love their field and they want people to understand. And there are just not enough places in the United States where such activity goes on. Special interests, we list a few here. I'll read for you. Tai Chi, remarkable success, Tai Chi, in a lot of cities we work in. I was in Beijing one night and naturally couldn't sleep because I was jet lagged. So went out on the streets at 2:45 in the morning expecting to see nothing. And interestingly, the Chinese do not have time zones. So in Beijing in June, the sun comes up at 2:30 in the morning. And why they don't have time zones, I don't know. And everybody is doing Tai Chi, and they force people to retire at 55 in China. So there are 60-year-old people all over the streets of Beijing doing Tai Chi. So we brought that into New York and do Tai Chi very early in the morning at Bryant Park, and if people somehow materialize and do it, would be one of the physical activities, plant workshops, garden tours, and the like. And then activities for children. If you provide activities for children, one of the lessons we've learned is that the children will find them. There are a lot of people with young children who are looking for substantive things to do to fill up the day, but also just have their kids smile and enjoy things. And children's activities should be a critical part of the park. And then obviously entertainment, as we said, live bands, string quartets. The noise level, you have an advantage in this space. The noise level is not very loud. So we believe that some of the quieter music activities could work there. In New York, it's hard. The decibel level in Bryant Park, because of the surrounding traffic, is 70 decibels. That's a high number. The decibel level in McNab is going to be much lower than that. So we believe you could do quiet music that will be appreciated by knots of people enjoying it. So we've listed here, for those of you especially interested in the local partnership opportunities, some of the things we think will be led locally, and some of the things that lean towards the educational field in yellow. And financially, last word from me, the restaurant will produce not only base rent, but with alcohol sales, there will be percentages dedicated to the garden through a revenue share with CRA and the park. And the nonprofit operator of the park, who will probably run it, take it over, will be benefiting from all the sales in the restaurant in the McNab House. We often say at our company, exhibit on the upper left, if you do programming, and that's the red box, you draw more visitors and you get denser crowd of visitors. There are more users around, and that makes the park an attractive opportunity for sponsorship. Now, I'm always told, oh, you're from New York. New York's the #1 market in the country. That can't work here in whatever city. And we have a quick answer for that. First of all, this metro area, going all the way from Miami to Palm Beach, is close to a top 10 market if you combine it all. Second, it's kind of special because it's very successful. Again, I think you're up close. You don't realize how the rest of us are in awe of South Florida and how successful it is. And it's stealing a lot of activity and business and residents from the rest of the country. So we believe there's enough money sloshing around here in small amounts and then larger amounts once the park gets well known to help feed the park and make sure it is self-sustaining. So these arrows indicate how the programming leads to revenue, not only in traditional fundraising, but just also in revenues in the garden stores, some private rentals. We have sponsorship. We have movies in the park in New York, and that's a very generous sponsorship from Paramount Plus currently. I can't keep the players straight among Paramount and Disney and all the rest of them, but it floats around. Somebody replaces somebody else, and the sponsorship money keeps going up, which is fine with me. So we play them off against each other. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Randy, I believe, and happy to take questions later about all that.
Thank you, Dan. This is the site. North is to your left. I don't know how much you can see at the back other than the colors, the bright green. What we show here is the development of the park itself, which is the Botanical Gardens, and that's the bright green, and that will be 75% of the site. In the upper right corner or upper left corner, I'm sorry, is the darker blue color. That's the McNab House restaurant with a new kitchen at the rear. So it's a slightly bigger footprint than just the historic structure. And the lower left is the event pavilion that is associated with both the restaurant and the botanical garden, because they're going to have to work together. The event pavilion will service the gardens, but they'll also service the restaurant and be an income producing for the botanical gardens. And the lower right, and you're going to see all this on the plan in more detail, is the sort of the entry to the gardens from the neighborhood. That's the primary public entrance to the garden in the southwest corner of the site, down here at the bottom. So that's part of the gardens itself. Is being designed as integrated with the gardens as well. And what you're going to see here, this is the master plan that we have right now. And the one we're moving forward with, all the drawings, the construction drawings and everything. We have some handouts at the end, so don't worry if you can't see the detail, because we do have some printouts that we can hand out to people. They can look at this in more detail. There's a lot of information on this. We went very detailed. This shows you all the tree canopy. We're trying to save every tree. We're trying to, if we can't save it, we're going to try to move it. So the trees on the site are invaluable, especially the very, very large ficus in the very center, which has always been a focus of the entire gardens, was the central tree, because it's so magnificent. We've had to change some of the design because of that tree and how dirty it is, but we are going to keep that tree, and it's going to be a focus of this project. As I said before, down here are the classrooms, restrooms, and maintenance, and this is the main entry for the community and people visiting the gardens. This is the restaurant, McNab Restaurant Kitchen, and this is the event pavilion. There's a water feature, and I'm going to go to the next slide. This takes all the tree canopy off the top, so now you can see down at the ground level. This is all the walkways taking you through the gardens. These are all the different gardens, the lawn area, and I'm gonna take you on a little walking tour. I'm sorry if you can't see the detail at the back, but you'll certainly see this plan as well as one of the handouts. Starting at the entry in the southwest corner, this is the arrival, we call it the arrival garden. And this is where people will come in off the street. If it's a busload of children, they can come into this courtyard. We can have displays in there. We can have activities in there. But this entrance will be flanked by these two buildings that have a garden store. It'll have classrooms. It has restrooms. There'll be a maintenance facility there for the operations of the gardens as well. Leaving this, you're going to go into the gardens. And this is where the concept was developed for a sensory garden. We have 5 gardens, primarily around the outside edge of the garden. Each one will emphasize a different sense. We're going to do that with plant material, taste, sound, smell, everything. This is going to be a garden you walk into, and hopefully we can actually change the displays so that people can come back in 3 months and go, wow, I didn't see the smell garden is totally smelling different, or the taste garden has got totally different things to experience, because we can do that here. Especially with a garden, there's so much opportunity here with visual and smell and odors and sound. Each one of them will be played off in the garden itself. So you come into the garden, you turn right, and you go along this major walkway, which is a large loop. The first one you come to is the sense of smell. And that will be a garden that has all these different components, whether it's flowers, vegetables, or different things, sculptures, everything that play off in that sense. From there you go to the next garden, and that'll be the sense of sight. Done with color. It'll be a visual explosion in this garden to highlight all those different aspects, and whether it's done with sculpture, for example, because we do really want to integrate sculpture and public art into the botanical gardens. The next garden you walk to is the sense of sound. That's an easy one. We can do a lot of things outside with sound. And very low level, so that when you're in the garden, it's not going to interrupt the other gardens, but you can actually just walk through the garden with your children or your friends and experience whole new elements of the landscape and sound. In the center area, we have this large sculpture garden. There's a koi pond and the historical garden. That'll be the center focus of the entire botanical gardens and the major core center. That's where we'll display the history of Pompano Beach. There's a beautiful pond to sit beside. We'll show you an image of what that looks like with a bridge. It's the water feature in the center of the park. And it's really going to be a spectacular place. It's surrounded with a walkway that you can loop around. There'll be seating in it and benches, and you can sit by the pond, and probably no fishing the koi, but there'll be a limitation on the fishing. The last on the east side is the sense of taste. Happens to be right beside the restaurant kitchen. So we have a real nice relationship with the restaurant there, with a sense of taste in that garden. This garden is really the outdoor dining area for the restaurant, shared between the restaurant and the garage. If you see the garage sitting there, that's going to be potentially some type of coffee shop. This is an outdoor dining area, but we want it to be totally integrated with the gardens themselves. It'll be unlike any outdoor dining area you've seen in Pompano Beach or this area, because that will be part of the gardens. It's part of the restaurant, but people coming there for dinner can then walk around the gardens after and enjoy the gardens as part of the experience of coming to the McNab Botanical Gardens. From there, you head down now to the event pavilion. And this is going to have a building which facilitates large internal events. We also have this large lawn area that goes right up to the base of the great big ficus tree. So we have this display area for the ficus tree, but also a place to have weddings, aerobic class, anything. You can do a whole lot of things in that space because it's an uninterrupted green space in the center of the gardens, adjacent immediately to the event pavilion to the north, on the north side. One of the reasons we have the buildings like this is because if you've ever been to the site, Atlantic Boulevard is very noisy, and we really wanted to create a peaceful, passive space inside the gardens, that when you came in those gardens, you didn't even know you're in the city. You're in this space that's a total relief of the traffic on Atlantic Boulevard or A1 or Federal Highway. So this will be a very unique space in this area. It's not just going to be a park, it's going to be a botanical garden. And then from there, you go on to the final garden, which is a sense of touch. I didn't mention, I forgot to, that there are going to be 2 playgrounds in this garden as well. We always promised the community that we would incorporate play for children. So there will be 2 really unique playground structures. We've talked to companies from Europe who do these amazing playgrounds that, unlike anything you've seen, and we're going to make those sort of part of the garden, so when you're walking around with your children, they'll suddenly discover this amazing structure they can climb on. And there's 2 of them. There's one on the, I'll go to the last slide. There's one of the play structure examples right there, but there's one on the east side here, and the larger playground right beside the classrooms, the restrooms, and everything was moved right beside the entrance to the facility. Sarah.
Yes, me again. I just want to jump in really quick because as you can sense from Randy's excitement, I too am very excited about this piece. We've spent a lot of time trying to make this garden unique, different from the others around us. You know, you have Miami Beach, that's a tropical garden. You've got Murakami, that's the Japanese garden. What can we do here that will bring visitors to even those places to this garden as well and have that positive tourism impact in our community? And then back to the education piece. You know, I've got 2 daughters who are in VPK. They're learning about the 5 senses. So what a better environment than something like this in our community for them to have a field trip to really be immersed in those sensory gardens. It's truly a special, unique experience. And also, you know, instead of just going to a garden and reading signs about what plant you're looking at, you're fully immersed. This is a sensory experience that's going to be kind of unlike any other garden. So we're very excited about that. Back to you, Randy.
Oh, it's back to me. I wasn't sure you were taking over the slideshow. I wanted to go through quickly. We've also been developing the plans for the buildings, including the McNab restaurant, the kitchen, the event pavilion, and the classroom. We have developed the floor plans for those. This illustrates to you at the very back the basement level of the restaurant and the basement level of the new kitchen, which is the light blue. The restaurant, which will be a basement bar, is yellow in color. And then the purple is sort of the circulation, or where the stairs, the hallway, and elevator are going to be located. The next slide shows you what happens on the ground level. The main dining room will be out in front, where the main portion of the house that you see now. We're using that almost entirely for dining. The kitchen will be a new facility at the rear of the building, separate but connected for the servers. And also the kitchen, because it has to be elevated for the floodplain and to match the house, we've even put an outdoor bar dining area on that facing into the garden. So we're trying to link the gardens constantly with the different elements of the building so that both get benefit from each other. And then finally, on the second floor of the house, there'll also be dining on the upper level for events, special occasions, and the kitchen itself is only one floor with a basement. The house is 2 floors with a basement, so it has one more level. Then the next is the event pavilion in the northwest corner. This will have 2 very large open spaces that can be either separated with 2 smaller ones or made into a large space, depending on the size of your group. We'll have restrooms there, a small office for administration, and things like that. It doesn't have its own kitchen. All the food that's catered there will be brought over from the kitchen. We've figured out how that works. There's an elevator dropping down to the ground level. People can come across over to the event pavilion to service a wedding. We've even designed, for example, around the base of the large ficus tree, will be an elevated wood deck that people can have their wedding on the deck underneath the tree, and the people sit out in the grass and watch the wedding event. And all of this has been figured out on the plan that we have now, even placing seating on the lawn to figure out how big a wedding we can facilitate. And then in the southwest corner, we have the ground floor. It's a 1-story building, actually 2 buildings connected with an arbor. This is where you would walk through the center here from the corner into the gardens. This is the classrooms, which can either be one large classroom, this is two separate classrooms. This is totally a public facility here. This is for the community and the city of Pompano Beach to use for different types of activities. There'll be a small garden store here, which is really a popular element in these places. You have garden books, you can have books on activities coming up and featuring art displays, all kinds of things. We have a small office here to kind of semi-control the entrance, even though it's free access. And we are going to have gates that open up during the day, and at nighttime there'll be security, because we have to secure the site for, it's the type of facility you just can't leave open to the street. There's too much of an investment, and there's too many things people could do to damage it, so that we will secure the site, but during the day, these gates are open, and it's going to be a very publicly accessible site. And then here, I have some pictures of this is the facade of the house and the garage facing south off of Atlantic Boulevard. You can see the landscaping that we're going to be enhancing all of this. This is the courtyard between the garage building and the house. This is the huge ficus tree, and that's actually a photograph of the ficus tree in the picture. That's how big it is. That'll be on the back side of the outdoor dining. And then when you swing around to looking from the west, this is an elevation on the street of the event pavilion on the left. You see this is the lawn area here with the large ficus tree. Even the fencing is being designed to be very transparent and not be oppressive, because people put chain link fencing up, things like that. This will be a very attractive but secure site. And during the day, when there's an event, they'll open the gates and it's very public. Here's standing inside the gardens on the event lawn, looking at this is the kitchen, and this is the outdoor bar that's elevated here. This is the dining room, or the dining area, outdoor dining area that extends to the left in front of the restaurant. This is the event pavilion with a big overhang outdoor canopy that you could have events that are protected from bad weather as well. This is the ficus tree, and a photo of it, actually. And then, of course, we have a front view of the event pavilion, very transparent, very interactive with the gardens. You'll see things that are going on inside the event pavilion. We have designed it, though, and this was brought up during the community. Well, if someone's having an event, how can I use the gardens? We've designed a circulation system that if someone's having a wedding, they can put a gate closes on the wedding area. There's a very low fence around it, and there's a bypass walkway that you can still use all of the sensory gardens, even though there may be a wedding going on. So we're very careful to make sure the gardens could have multiple events during the day and in the evening without interrupting the access for the public. This is a view of the central water feature, the koi pond with a bridge over it. Spectacular space. This is just, it's just going to be so unique and unusual, and just a kind of like a haven in the center of the gardens. This is a view of the typical walkway through the gardens, where they're going to be wide enough to handle enough people, but it's going to be still have that sort of intimate level. I think it's very important that this not become feel like a zoo or something where the sidewalks are too wide and everything feels disconnected. We want people to feel like they're part of the gardens as they walk through the gardens. And then this is an elevation of the classroom building on the southwest corner. As you can see, where everything will be very well landscaped. Fencing will be integrated with the landscaping. And then this is a view looking down into the courtyard as you enter from, this is the public community entrance to the gardens. You don't, if you're going to go have dinner or a lunch, you may go up to the restaurant. If you're going to go to a wedding or a special event, you may go to the event pavilion. This is where you come if you're going to come and see the gardens for the day. Your children are going to play in the playground or sit by the koi pond or whatever you want to do. This will be the main entry. Gates will be a little wider than that. That's a bad representation of how wide the gates will be. And I'm sorry, I went too far there. Sarah is going to handle this.
Thanks, Randy. Excuse me. And then in closing, just to talk a little bit about the parking opportunities. So you'll see in red, CRA-owned properties, in blue, city-owned, parking opportunities in green, and structured parking opportunities in the future, highlighted in yellow. Right now, the total surface parking spaces available as is with properties that we control, we have 296 spaces. The total parking spaces required per code per this site is 166. So we do have plenty. Randy, you want to touch on this?
Thank you. This is a very brief overview of the schedule because people are always interested, okay, when are they going to start building something, So this starts with the design development, which we're doing right now. We've developed this master plan since May. We're now going into construction drawings and all the construction of the structural, the civil, the landscape, electrical, all of those are being prepared. That's going through February of 2025. Just this 2 months, basically, we're just finishing off that phase. We then go to site plan review with the city. That will be from present to October. Construction drawings will start in November, full construction drawings, and will go through till May of 2026. That's when we get approval for the plan that we have now going through the city site plan review process. We can only go so far at different stages because of the way the permitting process works. We will go into bidding for a contractor in July and September of 2026. We will start construction in September of 2026, estimated to go through to December of 2027. That will obviously be adjusted when we get a contractor on board, find out, what their schedule is and how the city wants to move this through and things like that. And Sarah will finish me.
Yeah. Thanks, Randy. In closing, what I do want to say is what we hear the most from you all, the public, at the East Advisory Committees is, when will this be finished? Can you hurry up? We've been waiting forever. We know, we feel the same way. We are excited and we are at a pivotal moment, as you can see. These aren't just another set of pretty drawings. These drawings are being put into construction drawings and we're ready to move into construction. The only thing that can stop this momentum right now is not approving, the bond financing for this project. We're ready to go. We're excited and we're eager to get this done and moving forward. So with that, I think we're gonna, or Nguyen, do you want to close?
Yes. So thank you again for attending and hopefully, we can get through everyone's questions and comments. One special guest, actually two special guests that I forgot to mention that made this whole project possible is actually the McNab family. So I see Cindy Peters here. The McNab family donated the park. And I think I see Glenda. So the McNab family donated the park to the city and also the house, which is a huge asset for us. CRA projects are economic development projects. The return on investment on this project is immense. You've seen the success of the beach. This is going to be over the top of it. Nowhere else, no other city has something very unique like this. We've listened to your comments and comments. Please keep it coming. We will continue to to listen as we develop the design development plans for bidding. But again, thank you, and thank you to the McNab family, and we will honor them through that historical garden and also the agricultural history of Pompano. Thank you.
This is one of the most exciting things that I've seen as a 25-year resident, raising our kids here, our family, thinking about just what this means for the next generation. Pompano is really making great decisions for the long term, and being able to celebrate our history with the future, it's just so exciting. We can't wait to see this all done.
But I've started my family here, and it's really nice to see different things coming up in Pompano that we can bring our kids to. Not only that they can enjoy as kids, but we can enjoy as adults together. And so it's really nice to see the city put in the effort to create a space that both they and I can enjoy, and we'll keep on giving them, different experiences.
It's amazing. The presentation was fantastic, and what they talked about and the uniqueness of it is beyond anything that I think anyone in this room thought it was going to be. And the potential to bring this to fruition is going to be great for Pompano. Not only the park itself and the facility, but the return on the investment we'll spend will bring in millions more than what it's going to cost us. So it's a win-win, and the educational aspect of it for what the younger kids are going to see out of this, absolutely amazing with the educational opportunity.